So we're live. We are live. Okay. Hallo Menes, ich versuche gerade was. So. Und jetzt müsste er eigentlich da sein. Jetzt müsste eigentlich gleich ein Gast kommen.
Yes.
Hey!
Yes. Finally, bro.
Shit, man. How is this? How is this working so bad?
I don't know. I don't know. I just did what I do every time, and apparently
Yeah,
something went wrong. But
I
yeah.
don't. Yeah. Do you think we can? You can get your followers still on this page, or is it how it is now?
Oh, it's all right because I'm gonna upload this to IGTV later and to YouTube. So
Oh, that's cool.
yeah, it's totally chilled, you know. So
Oh, that's
man,
nice.
oh dude, we can
Man,
do
how you
this.
doing?
And I'm so happy like that we can actually do this and we sort the problem out, man. Like
Yeah.
first of all, brother, thank you for accepting this invitation of doing this and for showing interest on doing. I really appreciate that, and it means like you support this, and it's really cool. Thank you so much for that. Um,
You do
Another
it cool.
thing. Um, uh, Man, and usually did we just start like doing these lives, and the first thing I always ask is a little intro from my guest, and you
Mhm.
present with your name, what you do, if you have bands you plug them, if you have like stuff you work on you plug it, and it's all good, man. This platform is for you now as well.
Um, so what was this? What was the story again? Just like a little bit about what I do.
Oh yeah, just like introduce yourself, name, and boom. Like a
So
little
yeah,
introduction.
yeah. My name's Nick. I'm a freelance PR agent and booking agent. Actually, I play upright bass in several bands. My main band's the Bloodstrings. We've been touring quite a lot. That's where I basically learned all my skills for music industry or working in media and or the music industry. And yeah, 30 years old, living happily ever after with my wife here in Aachen, which is in the very west of Germany, close to Dutch and Belgian border. And yeah, besides not touring and not booking shows and shit, I'm actually super happy and super chill at the moment.
Now that's awesome, brother. Like, so first of all, let me understand this. How did you start like being interested in music? Because obviously it was through that like interest, then you got into bookings and PR. Like when you like, do you remember when like the first time you just got like, oh, I like this and I might do this and I might follow this through, you know?
Dude, like honestly, I never like approached a career in music, to be honest. Like I was a consumer like in my teenage years. I dreamt of like playing music. That's what I did like since I'm 13 or so. So that was always my thing, and it was always my thing to like be on stages and stuff. I was in like theater groups also, that sort of stuff. But I never really thought of me being like having a career when I was about to graduate from school, I had an offer. Actually, I could have made like an education at FKP Scorpio, which is like the big company that does like Rock am Ring and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And I didn't do it because I thought it was nothing for me. Like I don't know, like as a like late teenager, I was like, oh, working on the weekends and organizing stuff and yeah, but eventually I ended up basically doing exactly that because I think when I started touring with my band, um, I realized that this is like what I'm good at, also like organizing shit. So yeah, I think that's basically how it all like started. You know, like you do something, you start liking it because you got like maybe a certain like skill or talent for it or whatsoever, and then you just stick with it because it's fun. It turned out to be super fun.
Ah man, I bet, dude. I bet for how many years you're playing like with Bloodstrings and playing in bands like for do you have like a certain idea?
I'm playing music since age 13, which is 17 years now.
Wow.
Um, started playing bass from the very beginning because, you know,
Yeah, that's what another question that I had. Like, did you played another like other instruments, or you went like straight to bass?
teenage kid, man, every motherfucker had a guitar, man. And I was just, man, I'm gonna go for bass and just fucking kill it. And that's basically what happened. Like, it was never hard to have like a band, you know, because you're playing bass, you don't suck, and then you're in basically. And I had like several bands, but all just like, you know, smaller bands. We did like some recordings, but it was a lot of, you know, like playing in our local youth center kind of thing. Um, after a while, we started Bloodstrings. It was Selena's idea. You know her very well. For those of you who didn't, she would become my wife eventually, like 15 years later or so. It was her idea to start like a band which was more like a horror psychobilly themed kind of band in the beginning. And yeah, I bought a double bass because I always like fucking loved the instrument. And yeah, just spent like a few years only learning that actually. And yeah, there we are. And I think the Bloodstrings, like the
How
idea was born in
how
2009.
different was the transition from like bass to double bass?
Not too bad actually. Like I thought it would be way harder because you know, you just lack the frets basically. Like when you play like rockabilly upright bass, you have the same tuning and everything. You don't have to be. You can tune it to like deep C or whatever. It's what a lot of bands like in rock or rockabilly do actually. But you can do it like you can tune it like you
Standard.
know E A D G, and so it was just like, you know, you learn by heart where the frets are supposed to be, and then you basically do what you have learned from playing bass or guitar or whatever. The slap technique was, yeah, a bit different, but there's YouTube videos and books and everything. I think I learned it like I adapted most of the important stuff very quickly actually. So yeah, we could rehearse with the double bass like a few months after I had it, but it took us like 2 or 3 years to even go on the stage or whatever. But
All right.
different.
All right. But like that's one thing as well, because I saw you play live, and like now, or at least when I saw you, like the upper bass was like kind of like essential, man. Like, and it fits you as well, like pretty good. Like you're just like yeah. It feels like you've been playing that instrument for a long time now, you know, and that's like good to see, you know. You're like
Well, now I
comfortable.
do. It's 11 years now, so yeah.
Ah man, amazing, amazing, and it's really cool to see like the commitment. Um, like because obviously we're gonna obviously talk about like booking and PR, but like it's really good to see that like someone that is like still actually active in the industry is doing also music, and he's like active like playing an instrument, playing bands, you know. Like I think these two sides are fundamental, you know, like especially like in like independent DIY community is really is essential that like the creators are also like the organizers and the bookers and the promoters, because somehow I feel that keeps like the scene together, and we're all like kind of like in the same level and like communicating with each other, it's easy
Yeah.
because we all understand what we're like all through, like we're all going through, you know. So that is like a cool thing. So that's like also another reason I wanted like for you to speak here, because I think is like fundamental to, yeah, to show like the creative side of a person, and also like the professional, kind of like more technical side of it, because the creative side is also professional if you want to. That's the thing, you know.
Yeah,
Like
of course. But like I think in times nowadays, like the creative and like the organizational, like it overlaps constantly, because we live in a time where like you can be in a success you can be successful by being a DIY musician forever. Actually, if you're good at what you're doing, you can always be completely independent from major labels or whatever, because it's yeah, I don't want to say easy, but it's easy accessible and possible for people to like grow fan bases, to organize shit. Like most online tools, you need to organize your band like as a business. It's affordable or even free, like you don't need like the resources of a professional anymore, and you can make yourself a professional. And that's what
yeah,
I and that's what I did, because that's what I learned over the years. Like, because I always tried to get professionals, to hire professionals to do stuff for me, but it was never the right thing. It was never like, we ended up with cool labels, of course, but we never had like a PR agent that like did all the cool stuff for us. We never
yeah,
had like a social media management. We never had, and we're all not born digital natives. We're all in our 30s, which means that we were all in our 20s when social media was like a crucial part of the music industry. So, like, all that, those
yeah,
those sort of things, we don't come from like musically educated, like business educated backgrounds. Like we don't live in Berlin. We didn't go to school with like super famous people or whatever. So this is like, and this is where I noticed, like, you have to make yourself the professional, in order to have like the best booker you can rely on, become the booker yourself. It's
yeah,
actually, it's not easy, and I'm saying this knowing that I really depend on people that hire people like me. But it's just so important that you got people, that know the struggle of being a DIY musician, and it's so important. But I think most people in like the newer generations are exactly that. Like, to be honest, most people I know that work for in the music industry, for bookings, for big labels, they all come from this kind of background. They all started out being touring musicians, DIY DJs. I don't know. So I think it's more likely that it's becoming common sense now.
yeah.
Anyway.
Now more than ever, because like with,
Yeah.
as you said, like there's all the tools out there as well. It's never been easier to put your music out, or if you have like a little booking agency, put your booking agency out, like, or if you have like, it kind of gives like this flexibility of like creating whatever you want to create, like almost like this, if you have the
Yeah.
commitment, and if you have like the ideas and the creativity, you're just like, oh cool, I'm gonna do this, and now I'm gonna do that. And I think like that's, I don't know if that's like the reason you always attach like playing music, playing in bands, like doing booking and doing PR, because obviously booking is one thing, and it works like with certain it's different. Like basically what I'm trying to say is different than the approach in PR. So they're like
Yeah.
two different things. How do you manage? Do you actually like work when you're like booking and doing PR? You actually like merge those strategies, or sometimes you do just booking for a band or just PR. Like, how do you? What is like the perfect thing for you to work with? But what is what you're doing right now?
Yeah, so that's actually a pretty tough question because
All
it's
right.
very hard. It's different, but it's similar enough to keep the two things apart. Like, for example, I'm now starting to have like my first customers I'm doing PR and booking for. It's just because I'm working for a label, and this label needs a PR agent, but also someone who takes care of booking for the bands that come from overseas, for example, American bands. And that's like the first time those two things actually overlap. Um, I made the experience that it's like to me it's cooler to work with like two separate things. Like I have the booking business and I do the booking things and I talk to booking people and like to promoters or whatever. I have the bands I work for and then I go back to PR and there I have what I do for PR and it's different people, it's different customers but also different
All
people
right.
I approach. Sometimes they overlap. Like there's always like a person that promotes shows, but also has a fanzine, for
Yeah.
example. And that's very hard then because when I get to know this person, when I network with this person, I'm always like, yeah, so I got two different things, so you get two different emails. Both is me, but you have to answer them like separately. And some people are annoyed about that. It's a rare thing though, but sometimes it happens, of
Sorry.
course.
Sorry, my dog is active.
No
I'll
problem.
just I'll just put him here in my lap.
That's
Dude,
cool.
sorry to interrupt you, brother. Sorry to interrupt you.
No
Like
worries.
another question I had. I had like two things I want to talk about. One of the things is like in the booking side, how was like the evolution of I don't know the story, but probably like starting with local shows and developing to book your own band, then probably booking other bands, and now like booking festivals and stuff, like booking bands and slot festivals. Um, how did that progression happen, and how was that experience as well? Because there's a lot of work involved in that.
Yeah, it's actually funny because booking is also a thing that I actually never wanted to do myself. Like, dude, when I started Bloodstrings, which was my first touring band, like where I actually like sat down, just fucking, boom, book a tour or whatever. Um, it was the first time I talked to promoters, but I also talked to bookers who were running agencies, and I hated most of the bookers because they were so impassionate about my music. Like obviously I was younger, I didn't quite
Yeah, yeah,
understand
yeah.
what's the problem now. Um, why can't we just play and have a good time? Stuff like that. Very naive
Yeah.
for that only like not even 10 years ago. But anyways, that's how I was like, oh, no, I could never be like a booking agent. They always run for the money or whatever. Um, it was when I did more and more for the band, eventually becoming like the booker of this band, that I started to realize, okay, this is something you're probably good at, because it's a lot of networking on social media, on the streets. Even if you're at a gig, you always wanna get to know all the people that are probably important in the
Yeah, yeah.
scene or whatever. So yeah, I had always liked that. I just never realized that I could make a living out of it. And yeah, after a while, it's I think it was like 3 years ago, I started booking shows for other bands. Like 4 years ago, I think, rather. I started booking like other people's like friends bands because they're like, oh, you played in Berlin, don't you have like a guy there? And I'm like, yeah, I don't want to give away the contact, but let me ask him or
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
That's pretty much how it developed. I always put on shows in my hometown in Aachen for, I don't know, like 6 years now. I think 6 or 7 years. I'm putting up like small DIY shows, one or few big ones. but mostly small ones. So you get to know like a lot of people, and they would ask you, "Do you know a guy there and there?" And then you start like you just start working for other people,
Yeah.
which was just like to do them a favor because they never paid me or whatever. And like 4 years ago, I started doing it for a band from Italy because then I was very close to graduation from university, and I was thinking about what to do with my life. And that's basically how it started. And then just a few months later, Subcultura Booking, which was an agency I worked with very closely, and they did a lot for Bloodstrings as well. And Nico, the chef, he wanted to quit, and then he asked me if I wanted to join this booking agency, like this group of freelance bookers, which was four at the time, we're three now.
Super nice.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
And
awesome.
that's how I became actually a professional, and it didn't take long, so it was like a full-time job eventually. Yeah.
Oh, cool. Like, and obviously then we're like working together through Ducking Punches and stuff. Yeah. And like um how is like to like, because now you work like with different bands, and there's like actual not now with the situation is pretty like fucked up, but like
Obviously,
till
yeah.
till February, like you were like getting busier and busier and busier. How you were like managing like more work, more bookings, and more festival. How did you manage that? Like, because as you said before, it's like, oh, you weren't like actually picturing yourself doing bookings, and all of the suddenly you're like running like a booking operation there, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy, man. I think like self-organization is key for like everything you do, man, as a musician, as an artist who takes on commissions and stuff, and also as an agent for like those kind of services for bands. Organization is just the fucking key, man. I was working for full time for a PR agency before for 2 years. So I kind of learned like how to organize your daily tasks, how to manage to not like lose an email or whatever,
Yeah.
or like skim through a private message and then like forgetting to write that person back or whatever. Um, so that was very essential to learn, and that's how I do it, man. I just know like from hour to hour for like the next 7 days, I just know what I will be doing. Like I exactly know what task I will be approaching tomorrow at 4, for example.
All right.
And this is like how I organize myself, because I think it's the only thing you can do with doing like so many little different things. Like you have to write everything down. I mean, man, this year was supposed to be crazy. Like I think I did like 12 tours or so that were about to happen this year, which were like all gone. Like not a single
Yeah.
one happened.
One was ours as well in
One
May.
was yours, man, and it was one of the easier to book, man,
Yeah.
because like you got bands like you or not scientists, and it's actually not too hard to get shows because people know you, and they want you, and I have the right contacts. But I wanna help like very young bands as well that I like really believe in, and obviously it's way harder. It's way more hours to get them paid shows, because you really have to convince people, and you have to look for more people, man. When I'm doing a Ducking Punches show, I have like 20 names in mind, which I'm definitely gonna ask,
Yeah.
and then I'm doing like the research and like trying to like what's going on or whatever.
It's
So
cool.
yeah.
It's cool as well, like to understand that like different approach in different bands and in different moments. It's really good that like I'm just like trying to give some information for, like, imagine someone that wants to be like a booker one day, and here's the conversation. I want this conversation to be like kind of educative, because this is like what it's all about. different approach,
Yeah.
different bands, different momentums. You have like, you have to basically treat each band with passion, and basically work on each band in kind of a different way, basically, right?
Exactly. That's how it is. That's what I do for booking. That's what I do for my PR agency as well, man. I think like you have to treat every customer as if it is your only, you know. Like I know quite a few bookers and agents for like management or what or PR or whatever, and they tend to get like sloppy with the small ones, you know, and they'll be like, ah, yeah, it's fine. They don't deserve that much attention.
Oh
But
yeah.
actually, like as soon as someone pays you for a service and also like is passionate about it and believes that you are going to help that person, then I think it's you should give 100% for like each project you're working on, because then I should just leave it, you know. If I wasn't, and I was very close to that as well. Like if I wouldn't have like the time or the energy, like the mental energy to help like each band as they deserve it, equally, then I would just have to like get rid of some projects of
Yeah.
some bands because it's just too much. I was very close to it. Like actually, I was about to let go of some bands because it was just like, you know, too much. Um, we will see about how it goes after Corona.
No, obviously, man, because at this moment it's just like a weird time. So it's not like the perfect time to make uh, like, really like, uh, real like changes and stuff. Or it is, you never know. But like in this kind of like ambience, yeah, it's weird. But yeah, moving on, man. Like, I had a question here for you that I was like, cool. This is like the perfect question for Nick because it involves the spirit like of DIY and also this like professional industry side. How essential is a PR? Like, is PR services in a band, even if you do it yourself?
I think no matter if you do it yourself or not, I think it's pretty essential because I think PR is so much also like most people they think yeah PR is yeah getting reviews on your release. That's what most people think music PR is, but there's so much about it. Like it's not only about magazines; it's about like getting people like getting spread as well. Like a small example, obviously I'm doing PR for my own band as well. And for our last release, for our last video, we did quite some PR work, which means we asked magazines, like we emailed and called magazines, like scheduled a release date. Can you present it? Can you put it like in your news feeds or in your stories or whatever? Just be like breaking news, Bloodstreams Avenue, blah blah blah, you know.
Yeah.
And we didn't quite do it with the last one, with the one before that. And like the last release now was like, boom, it exploded, man. Also on social media because um, it didn't only went through our following, because through PR we could prepare other like multiplicators, as you would say, to like multiply it, so everyone was prepared to do it.
Yeah.
Like there is barely, sometimes it works, but there's barely such a thing like, are we just gonna drop like a surprise single and no one's prepared for it and shit.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen. Like every time you think, oh man, this came out of the blue, man, all the media partners knew, man,
Yeah.
weeks, months before. So this is the thing. I think it's essential, and PR is even it's not only like the media press kind of thing. It's PR goes through marketing as well. It goes through your YouTube marketing. It goes through your Spotify playlisting. It's it goes through like how you communicate with managements, with labels you want to be on. That's PR. PR is having a good stash of photos. PR
Yeah.
is
That's what I was
basically
gonna like.
media.
Yeah, yeah, like talk about because like Selena is doing like videos, and the last like I've seen like the progression of like the image side of like blood strings and like the content you put out, and it's like now you can say like there's like a really like studied like you know, like image, and that's cool. Like that's pretty cool because I know it's
Yeah.
all DIY, and man, it doesn't matter if it's DIY or not. When it's a good job, it's a good job, you know. And I
Yeah,
think
and I think it's super important to have like a strategy. Do you sit down with your bandmates and be like, okay, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do that. Most band people, you know, like most musicians don't like it very much. Like my bandmates, like me and Selena, we run those kind of things. The other two, they don't like it that much. Like, and I couldn't even blame them because they just don't like, you know, to like plan things far ahead and don't
yeah,
just like they always like, oh, why can't we just post it? It's like because it's way smarter to wait for like a week to prepare people for it, to have like a perfect time to like
exactly.
fucking hit the switch and you know
I
go off.
understand, man.
It's very it's sometimes it's difficult, but it's I think it's the little things, man. It's just like if you have media representation, you have like an interview here, um, a live chat there, or you know, like you constantly have content to do. That's what I tell my customers in my PR agency as well. Like they always like they want to pay me for like 3 weeks or so, or for like 2 weeks for one release to have like all the reviews or whatever.
It takes
I like
time.
it. I like it way better to have like not like 10 articles on the release day, but like constantly having things like next week we have two more reviews. The week after we have an interview. The week after that we're at a podcast. You know, like just keep the ball rolling because if you throw it one time it just lays there. If you bowl it, it keeps rolling, man, until it hits like the next pin and you got like the next content to share.
No, for sure, brother, for sure. I totally get you, man, and it's so cool that you're just like putting that like in words. And again, like this is gonna be uploaded to IGTV later and YouTube. And man,
Hopefully.
I think like what we're like covering here is pretty like fundamental. Like if someone wants to start like booking shows or promoting bands, or even playing in band, booking shows and promoting yourself, you know, that's like
Yeah.
that's also like valid because a lot of people do that. Like you and me, we do that. Like Bernardo does that. Like there's a lot of people doing this, you know. That's not there's like a whole universe of people that are actually doing this. So it's possible, you know. Another thing, like before we finish the conversation, there's one last thing I want to talk about, and it's the way you and Selena, like every time we're playing Akin, the way you accommodate us, you treat us nicely. Like that's like something that like because obviously everyone's been on the road. Sometimes like you have someone that is like not like keeping those things in mind, but because probably you play music, you tour, you book, and you have like the understanding of how like it is to be on a tour. And like first of all, I really appreciate that. That's like awesome because
No, we
when
like
we
to
go,
have you here.
nah, dude, when we're like at your home, it's like home. Like we go out in Aachen like for a little walk and stuff. Like it feels good, you know. So thank you for that. And my question is that like obviously this is for a reason and because your heart like tells you to, you know. But like this is also a part of like your worth ethic as well, and I can feel that too, right?
Yeah, it totally is, man. I mean, for the most obvious reasons, I always loved having like musicians over here. Like as I said, like I'm promoting shows for a good part of my life now, and I always looked for like the bands, even like the big ones, to stay at my home because I just fucking love to hang out and talk music or whatever. I just fucking love it. I love meeting people, and that's why I always like. And Selena is the same. We always like to have guests at home. You know, we always like to have like people at home to share stuff, to share food, to share thoughts, laughs, hang out, whatever. But obviously, it's a lot about like the ethics behind it. And Selena is even like she's even more. She even has more of those ethics because she's like the perfect host. You know, she's like the born host. She always was like, you know, if it were us, man, you wanted to have like remember those what was it like those potato fry kind of things we had
Oh,
from the
yeah,
oven, um, the spring rolls or whatever. And
yeah. Oh, that
I
was
didn't, I
good.
didn't, to be honest, I didn't even think about, you know, buying them. But Selena was the one. She was like, "Man, you know by yourself, like they have it there. But if we're on tour and we come to a place that there's beers and there's some spring rolls from the oven, man, let's do that for them." And I'm
Yeah.
like, "Yeah, fine."
I'm just putting my dog downstairs because I think he's about to bark. And he always does this. Sorry, buddy. Oh, man. No, dude, but again, man. Opa. Yeah, sorry. I have a dog, so it's always like this. It's always like an adventure. You never know when it's gonna like start doing this and like just but yeah, dude, like again, I remember also like not only that, but oh come on, Sushi. Behave.
Super cute name, man.
He's like a small dog, so he has to stand up, you know, like that's his thing. He somehow oh cool, he's gone. He's downstairs now. But yeah, another thing I was gonna like touch like in before the end of the conversation is you not only like accommodate us really well, um, you and Selena like last time or like last two times we've been there, I remember you like doing like a historical tour through Aachen. Like, is that something you do like with the bands? Because like basically there's like Aachen is like really well known for his like strange things and facts, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, actually, quite often, yeah. Maybe not for every band, you know. It's kind of like how they behave or whatever. No, but like
Yeah.
honestly, we love to do it. Like especially Selena, she knows so much about the city and stuff. So we love doing it, man. We did it for like a bunch of bands and artists now. Like Beans, you know, Beans on Toast, right?
Yeah.
I think you know each other, right? And it was like the same thing. Like he was like so excited about like all the folklore in the city and stuff like that. And yeah, it's the same. Like I think it's super important because when you're on tour, it doesn't matter if you're like very DIY and very little, or if you're like big or whatever. Sometimes it gets like very professional, in out, you know, in play out, hotel, whatever. And I just like that the show in Aachen for most bands, even for the big ones, is more like it feels it shall feel like a day off. Like you should play like a show for as many people as possible, get as many money as possible, but the day around it should like feel like a day off because you always know that some of the next shows are gonna be like, you know, in
Yeah.
out curfew, boom, you're out, and yeah, that's just not how we do things
And
around here.
I can totally relate with that because I experienced that. And yeah, you can totally feel you're having a day off when you play in Aachen, man. That's for sure, man. Dude,
Mission accomplished.
thank you so much for doing this, man. Once again, like we covered a lot of ground. I think this is like a cool, educative like conversation. And man, thank you for your energy. Thank you for your time, dude. I'm just happy we've done this, man.
Thanks for having me, man. So you could just gonna download that from IGTV and put it on your page, right?
Exactly, man.
Cool.
So
Then
save it, like save to your IGTV so I can download it, brother. Okay,
all right. Cool, man.
brother.
That was so good to see you.
I'm here. I'm alive, man.
You're still alive.
Nah, dude. It's actually like the same, dude. Like because what has been good with these conversations, I'm actually having the time to speak a little bit like with people, you know, and that helps a lot, you know. Like
Yeah.
especially because I'm still not working. And yeah, it's just good to do this, man. And again, dude, thank you, brother. Thank you, man.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Bye, man.
No worries, man. Bye bye.